For this video, we're going to be discussing proportions word problems. So we can use proportions to solve real-world problems. And the key is to think about what is being compared and set up the proportion correctly. So for example, if we're dealing with a problem that involves miles and hours, when I set up my proportion, just being a fraction equaling another fraction, the first thing I want to do is I want to put one of my units on the top of the equal sign and one of my units on the bottom of the equal sign. So I know that miles is always going to go in the numerator and hours is always going to go in the denominator, so that I keep my stuff organized. All right, this is going to become really important when we do word problems. We want to make sure we're keeping our numbers in the correct place. So let's just do some examples of this. Example 1 says it takes Odane 2 minutes to run 3 laps. How long will it take Odane to, let's say that says to run 15 laps? So let's think about what our units are. It says it takes Odane 2 minutes to run 3 laps. And then it says how long will it take for him to run 15 laps. So our units are minutes and laps. So it doesn't really matter which one we say is the top, which one we say is the bottom. I'm going to say minutes goes in our numerator and laps goes in our denominator. So I know now that on top here, this is always going to be numbers that relate to minutes. And on the bottom, that's always going to be numbers that relate to laps. And now I want to make sure I keep my data paired up. It says it takes Odane 2 minutes to run 3 laps. So I know I want 2 and 3 to be in the same fraction together. And it's 2 minutes for 3 laps. So that's one side of our fraction. Now on the other side, we're missing a piece of data. So that's going to be where our x goes. We're going to use x for our missing number. And we got to ask ourselves, well, we have one number left and it's 15. And 15 is the number of laps. So it goes on the bottom here. And I don't know how many minutes it's going to take him. That's what I'm being asked. So, oh, that was a mistake. Since I don't know how many minutes, I'm going to say it's x minutes. All right, well now to solve this problem, all I'm going to do is I'm going to do my cross multiplying. X times 3 is 3x. And 2 times 15 is 30. So I get 3x equals 30. Divide both sides by 3. And I get x equals 10. And I got to put my units on here. It's up top, so that means it is 10 minutes. So it's going to take Odane 10 minutes to run 15 laps. It's pretty good. It's more than a lap per minute. All right, but so all we have to do this, we set up our proportion, put our units in first, then plug in our numbers, and then cross multiply to solve. So let's take a look at a second example. Example 2 says on a map, New York and Cleveland are 3 inches apart. If the map has a scale of 1 inch to 150 miles, how far apart are New York and Cleveland actually? So we're reading this map, we see that they're 3 inches apart, we want to know how far are they really apart? Well, if we read here, it says we have a scale of 1 inch to 150 miles. So our units are inches and miles. And now we want to set up our proportion. Now the fraction that we know both numbers, it says 1 inch to 150 miles. So we set it up as 1 inch over 150 miles. It says that they are 3 inches apart, and we want to know how far they are actually. So our missing space is just the x. So we've got 1 inch to 150 miles equals 3 inches to x miles. So to solve, we cross multiply. 1 times x, well that's x. 3 times 150, that's 450. X is by itself, so we're already done. What unit is x? It's miles. So New York and Cleveland are actually 450 miles apart. So once again, we set up our units first to keep our information organized, set up our fractions, cross multiply, and solve. So our third and final example says Alicio and Harvey are having a pie eating contest. For every 2 pies Harvey eats, Alicio eats 3. If Alicio has eaten 12 pies, how many has Harvey eaten? All right, so if we look at this, what are our units? Well, our units aren't just going to be pie. They're both eating pies. Our units are actually Harvey and Alicio. However many pies Harvey eats, however many pies Alicio eats. So our units are going to be Harvey and Alicio. Okay, so now we need to set up our fractions. It says for every 2 pies Harvey eats, Alicio eats 3. So 2 for Harvey is 3 for Alicio. And then it tells us Alicio has eaten 12 pies, so 12 goes with Alicio. How many has Harvey eaten? We don't know, so it's an x. So we set up our fraction, 2/3 equals x over 12. I'm going to solve by cross multiplying again. 2 times 12 is 24. X times 3 is 3x. So we get 3x equals 24. Divide both sides by 3. We end up with x equals 8 pies. So Harvey eats 8 pies to Alicio's 12. So I'm going to leave you with a try it problem. It says Tony is driving on a road trip. It takes him 6 hours to go 300 miles. How long will it take him to drive up 720 miles? So you need to set up your proportion and use that to solve the problem.